It's now been a few weeks since Matt Reeves' The Batman starring Robert Pattinson had premiered for all theaters, unless you're in Russia. And so now that people have had the time to see the movie, I believe it's now a good time for me to get into the spoiler territory and analyze what is, in my opinion, the most intriguing part of the movie, and that is the Batman and Bruce Wayne himself. Now, I see a lot of shine being put on literally everything in this movie. Paul Dano's Riddler, Colin Farrell's Penguin, as well as some differing opinions about Robert Pattinson and Matt Reeves' interpretation of the Bruce Wayne side of Batman. As this isn't the same Bruce Wayne that we're used to seeing in like the Snyder movies, the Nolan trilogy, or even the Tim Burton films. There's little disconnection between Bruce and Batman in this film, and that's what makes this version of the character all the more intriguing and, in my opinion, better. From the first time we see Bruce without the mask, you immediately get the feeling that all he wants to do is put it right back on. Being so against Alfred bringing the accountants to Wayne Manor because there was absolutely no way he would ever go to meet them himself gives you enough information to understand that Bruce Wayne does not care about this billionaire lifestyle. Bruce Wayne doesn't want to be Bruce Wayne. The only thing he wants to do is be the Batman. It's made very clear throughout every comic book and animated series that the real mask is Bruce Wayne, while Batman is the true identity of our caped billionaire hero. And while this is made clear in many interpretations, it's explored very differently and, in my opinion, shallowly in basically every other film adaptation of the character. You see it addressed, but you almost never see it being brought into any deeper territory, and I think this film changes that while in a much different direction. With the Nolan trilogy, you see Bruce juggling the Batman and Bruce personas in a much different way from the comics, while in this we see Pattinson's Bruce Wayne push away any and all responsibilities that don't involve the cowl, one of Batman's many, and I mean many, mistakes in this movie. Batman in this movie is the absolute worst at being a hero. Yes, he does a great job at the detective side of things, but when it comes to the whole superhero part of this superhero movie, he does probably the worst job you can ever think of. From the first time we see him, the innocent man that he's saved is terrified of him. He doesn't feel hopeful or reassured. Batman says that the bat signal is a warning for them, but for the first two acts, it seems like the them is just Gotham as a whole. He fails to save many people and makes critical mistakes that end up causing high amounts of damage directly because of said mistakes, such as the car chase scene. Part of this is because of how much Batman is blinded by deeper selfish intentions. Yes, he wants to make a difference in Gotham, but deeper down, what he really wants when he puts that suit and cape on is to release all the pent-up anger on everything he wants out of this city. What Batman wants is revenge, hence the vengeance title that both he gives himself and others give him that he ends up regretting later on in the movie. The biggest flaw of this much younger version of Batman is that he's too naive. The whole Bruce Wayne side of things is sidelined so much for a specific reason. At the mayor's funeral, where we see his first public appearance, it's once again made clear that Bruce Wayne almost never appears anywhere publicly. Once again, that whole playboy billionaire lifestyle doesn't exist for this interpretation. This gets addressed by our mayor candidate Bella Real, who states to Bruce Wayne that he really isn't doing anything for the city despite how much he has the ability to do so. And while in the trailers you're supposed to laugh this off and be like, she doesn't know, when you watch the movie and look at the bigger picture, she's absolutely right. Bruce Wayne and Batman really have not had a positive effect on Gotham as a whole, and that's when we get to the Riddler. The Riddler wants to relate to Batman in this movie, and the entire time he believes as if they're truly working together. He acts like they're two sides of the same coin from this movie, as they're both looking for the same three things: change, justice, and revenge. Their motives and even their backstories are very similar, and even their directions feel similar as well on the surface. The only thing that differentiates the two are their philosophies on what change and justice really is. But the Riddler doesn't see it that way, and neither do a lot of his henchmen either. As we see later in the third act of the movie, the Riddler's henchman we saw Batman go absolutely ballistic on repeats the "I am vengeance" line, giving us all we need to know about Batman's impact on the city of Gotham and the crime there. He's not been scaring them away like he had planned to do, but had made it even more complicated and inspired vengeance-seeking criminals unintentionally, pushing the point that vengeance achieves nothing even more. Both this and Batman's relationship with Selina Kyle in this movie pushes this theme far enough to its success and points out yet another flaw in Batman's judgment. He just isn't seeing the bigger picture. Growing up rich, he could never understand the people in Gotham who turned to crime out of desperation. It's not as black and white as he sees it as. The Riddler once again also pushes this idea as he blatantly says multiple times that Batman is missing the bigger picture. He needs it explained to him entirely or takes multiple attempts to discover just what is going on. And when he does discover the truth of his own family and their now stained reputation, he begins to realize his true responsibility. The city of Gotham does need the Batman, but with better judgment and one that is far more matured. Batman needs to be something that the people can look at and say, we'll be okay, we have the Batman, rather than being put into fear of what the Batman actually is. He needs to be the symbol of hope for the citizens of Gotham, not a symbol of vengeance for the criminals, but that's not all they need. While they do need the assistance of Batman in the shadows, they need someone in the light who has the influence, power, and money that one could use to make a difference. Gotham needs Bruce Wayne, and he learns all of this at the end of the movie. Gotham needs change, and most of all, Gotham needs a hero. Out of every version of Batman that we have seen on the big screen, this is by far, in my opinion, the most flawed and human version of the character, and that's what makes him so great for me. By the end of this movie, you can't even really say that Batman had won rather than learned a lesson. Yes, he did end up saving the mayor, but just look at Gotham at the end of the movie. Things are just going to get worse, as Catwoman had said. But Batman had learned a lesson in this movie that will make him do better in the future movies. So while this is by no means an origin story for the Batman, it is most definitely a coming-of-age story for the character, and it feels more like an origin for the Bruce Wayne that we are more used to seeing, which I believe we will see in the sequels for the Batman. With all that being said, that is my full analysis on this version of the Batman so far. I'm very interested to see what Matt Reeves has to show for this character in the future, and I'm also very excited to see how Robert Pattinson portrays it on the big screen. I know I usually cover anime and manga on this channel, but I really love Batman and comic books as a whole, so I really wanted to cover this. Next week, I will be talking about the Jujutsu Kaisen movie. With that being said, I'll see y'all later.